I'm Brian, your Chords and Notes Nation, and this is another audiobook review. Today, I am reviewing The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien, narrated by Martin Shaw, and this was produced by, I don't even know, someone. Anyways, this is another bucket list book of mine that I needed to get out of the way. I've owned the paper copy of the book for many, many, many years, and I've always kind of dived into it and kind of got lost and bored at certain points and gave it up because the way it was written, much different than Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And for those of you who don't know, the Silmarillion is basically the backstory from the point of creation all the way up to the Third Age, or the events that preceded The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And it gives you a lot of the backstory, of, most importantly about the elves, and then the men and the dwarves. It doesn't really mention anything about hobbits at all, but it really fills in a lot of the gaps that you might have had wondering why about certain things that happen in The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And what I really enjoyed about this, number one, let's talk about the audiobook version itself, was done very, very well. Martin Shaw did a great job narrating a book that could very easily be seen as stale because of the style of writing, especially the first chapter or so reads very much like the book of Genesis in the Bible does, where it's just sort of really dry. And there's a lot of names and dates, or names and places, and things you have to get used to that can distract you, and it's a difficult read at times. But I think with his voice and the way he was able to read the story kept me engaged a lot more than I thought I would be. And for that reason, I would definitely recommend, if you are having difficulty reading the Silmarillion, to listen to it. Maybe even listen to it and read along with it is a great idea as well. The story, it's a solid story, and it has a lot of, once you get really deep into the book and you start reading about all these little sub-stories that are going on, it's just really fascinating to hear the level of detail that Tolkien's imagination that he put into it. And it reminded me of when I was a child, when I first got into Tolkien, of why I had immersed my imagination into his world, and playing the Middle-earth role-playing game, and any of the songs in the 70s that had to do with his world, I'd listen to, and even so much as inspiring me to want to make stories and that sort of stuff. So he definitely has been an inspiration in that sense for me. I mean, he set the genre for fantasy writing, and there's no doubt about it. And I don't think anybody has done it better. I know Terry Brooks was very much inspired by him, and so his world of Shannara was inspired through Tolkien. And Brooks is one of the best out there. But I don't know, and no disrespect to Mr. Brooks, but no, I don't think he's come close to what Tolkien's been able to do. So, that being said, I'll give it a 4 out of 4, maybe a 15 out of 4. However you want to look at it, it's one of the best out there, and the audiobook itself was done very, very well. And hats off to Martin Shaw for taking on that immense book and turning it into something enjoyable to listen to. You know, it spans a lot of time. It spans the First and Second Age. You're talking thousands of years, and it's not a continuous storyline, but it's all connected. And so, you know, under those circumstances, he did a great job. That being said, the Silmarillion audiobook version, we're good to go on that. I would suggest it. Thanks very much.